So let's just get straight into it. How to fix a bath waste. So the waste kit is basically the overflow and the part that allows you to attach the trap. So it's the plug hole, essentially. So what is going on? Well, if we look at the overflow, you can see it's just spinning, so we can't tighten that up. Now, strangely enough, it's kind of like just feels like it's cross-threading, not cross-threading. It just keeps spinning. But there's probably a good reason for that. So let's remove the bath panel. This is the most annoying part when you're doing this job. So to try and save the bath panel, use a Stanley knife just to score along every joint, so that will stop any paint splitting. So if you take off anything that's painted and you haven't scored along it, you could end up ripping or pulling the paint and causing more damage. So we need to remove this piece of skirting board first. So all bath panels are different, but we're just looking for any fixings. So couldn't see any fixings. I knew that they were probably under the skirting, and yes, there are a few fixings, but like one or two, and then there was just this one buried up in the corner. Now, the landlord told me that he basically got some absolute cowboys in there to install this bathroom. And yeah, you can kind of tell. I mean, you've only got to look at the tiling and you think, yeah, something's not quite right here, is it? But as always with anything plumbing, if we're going to be removing bath panels, always say to the customer, landlord, whoever owns the property, that there is a very high chance of you damaging the bath panel. So you don't want to get any blame for damaging the bath panel. In fact, you've got to tell them that you need to smash it up to get it out of the way. Make sure that the customer knows that this is very likely to get damaged. So as you can see, both of the skirtings are pinning this in, as well as the fact that the lip is going right under the bath and it's tight to the floor. So it's a very difficult one to get out. As you can see to the right of me, I've taken off the skirting board. Now, with a bit of leverage, a bit of prizing, we're going to just get it out. Let's see if we can gently pull it towards us and slide it out, and crack. Yeah, we just give up on this one. We're just going to be smashing it out. We're not smashing it out, prying it out. Then we're going to put it to one side. So they're going to have to get a new bath panel installed at some point further down the line. Now, having a look underneath, you can probably tell straight away from here just how wet it is down there. Now, the reason that overflow was spinning was, look, the hose was just not connected up. So with the hose not being connected up, as soon as you fill up the bath, as soon as you get to a certain level, that's just going to spill out everywhere. Now, this bathroom was only installed about, what was it? When was lockdown? 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And when they installed it, they put all of that silicone round. Doesn't look good, does it? So, need to remove this overflow. Now, it's always better if you put your camera down and you actually use two hands. This will be far easier for you to do. As for me, I'll try and do everything one-handed. I don't know, it's like I'm showing off, isn't it? Now you can see that it's all just made out of plastic, so they do very often cross-thread. It is a big problem. So we're going to remove the actual plug hole itself. So there's just usually a screw. This can sometimes be a flathead or a Phillips screwdriver. Well, to start with, I did just get a new rubber, because that's usually what you need to replace when you're doing the waste kits. Got the waste kit as well. But we're going to have to go off and get a new trap, because it's clearly just a really cheap one. We'll put in a decent McAlpine trap as well as part of the job. And it's just push fit. So push fit waste, it's just bowed like that. I don't understand why anyone would ever fit a rubbish trap. Like, this was a £5. Like, what are you going to save? £1? You know what I mean? When it comes to waste, fittings, traps, any trap, McAlpine, they are number one. That's genuine. Genuine, they are number one. So, £5 on the job, got to be done. So let's start assembling the waste kit and see what we got inside. Well, there's our hose, and there is the overflow, and there is the waste at the bottom. So, bit of spit, best lubricant you can use. Put a little bit of spit around it, get your tongue around there, and it'll slide in nice and easy. And I'm sure that you're pretty privy to that information anyway. It's a very useful tip. Use your tongue for lubrication. Oh dear, plumbing, just, it all sounds bad, doesn't it? Right, so we need to take out the screw. We need to put that in the bath so that we got that at hand ready. Now, I'm using silicone. I don't care. I silicone my waste in. Now, plumbers will be very divided over this, but sorry, I use them on waste, on baths, every single time. The only thing is, you just got to make sure that you don't get no silicone inside of the actual fitting itself, so that there is no obstructions for the waste. And it stinks of vinegar. Absolutely reeks of vinegar, that stuff. It's just super important when you're doing any sort of waste is make sure that you dry everything out. So I've just got some tissue, make sure everything's nice and dry, and that'll help everything seal. So we're just going to line up that waste. And we're going to put the cover basket over. Trap. I don't know what it's called. I don't know. I'm a bit lost for words. The bit that the plug goes in. Screw that down, get that nice and tight, and then once it's nipped up, use two hands. Use one hand to make sure that it's squared up, it's lined up, everything is sat perfectly in the middle, and then with your other hand tighten it up. So to do the overflows, I really like foam waste washers. I think the foam ones, they always just seem to seal really, really nicely. And so we're going to be using those up the top. So we're just going to do the overflow. Now, the good thing about this little Bristan waste kit is the fact that you don't have to mess about putting the plug and chain on. It all comes pre-made. So we're just going to tighten that on. And then again, it's just hand tight that. So let's put this new trap on. So I've got a low level trap by McAlpine. So it goes nut. Then you've got your red retaining ring, and then you've got the actual rubber washer. Now, the cone shape has to be pointing inwards into the fitting. So that's just the way around you need to put it, and in what order. And then these traps, they are lovely and tight. They have an inner tube to them, which actually goes inside of the pipe and creates a double seal. They are absolutely fantastic. Tighter the better when it comes to waste pipes. So this is another thing that is essential that you only do hand tight. If you use any sort of tools, you're going to absolutely knacker it. So you just got to make sure that it's hand tight, as firm as you can make it. And just be ever so slightly more careful between the connection from the waste pipe we've just installed to the trap. You don't really want to over tighten this. That will just cause you loads of problems. So the back nut that is actually on the pipe, the one further down the line, now that one you can really tighten up as hard as you want with your hands. Now we're going to solve this sagging pipe by using some offcuts of 1.5 inch pipe. Just going to put a couple of those down there just so that it can't bow in the future. So let's fill up the bath, because what we need to do is we need to fill up the bath. And we're just going to look at all of the different metals. So we got some chrome, we got some brass, we got some bronze, and then black fixtures, fittings, and grout lines throughout. So a lovely mix of all different types of metals. Because don't think that I didn't notice. I was like, well, why is it chrome and then brass? And we could have fitted a brass one, but the landlord just didn't care to pay the extra money to have it finished in brushed brass. So there you go, there's your reasons. I know if you've got OCD, it's probably absolutely crushing you right now. But as we can see, we've got no leaks, and that's the main point. So we're going to pop out the plug and let that completely drain. So we want to make sure that bath is completely filled up to test it thoroughly. Get a little light on so we can see around everything. And if you do listen carefully, you can hear that it's actually drawing water from the basin, where the cowboys had obviously linked the basin and the bath up together, and it really wants an anti-vac trap on the basin. There we go, that's all done. Now there is no rush to get that bath panel back on, because you can see how wet it was under there. So it needs to air out. Needs to get all nice and dry before you go sticking a bath panel back on there. But yeah, that's it, we're done there. On to the next one, on to the next video. Oh, I always forget, every time I forget. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you want to see more of this sort of stuff, hit that button down there. Not the one on screen, but the real one, like the actual one, not just the graphic. That one.